Hey, it's Judy May Murphy here. How are you all doing? Okay, so today we're going to talk about three different things, three phrases that are to do with the self that I find people are getting pretty confused about because, as we know, a lot of the wisdom that's out there, a lot of the stuff that's being generally taught doesn't apply to us specifically when we are more codependent or more sensitive, or when we have a weaker sense of self, or all those things that make us feel smaller and less powerful than others, which we are not. We are equally powerful. We just got to do it in a very, very different way. So phrase number one is the phrase invest in yourself. Because I have clients and they come to me and they say, oh, you know what? I decided I was going to invest in myself and I'm going away on this week-long retreat. And then I say, okay, great. So what is an investment? And they kind of look at me. They say, well, it's me giving to me. Well, really, that's lovely, but that's something we're going to be talking about later on in this little session. But an investment is actually when you put something in order to sometime in the future get even more out. And very often people are just putting money into courses, trainings, putting time and money into even reading a book that's not very good, or, the information is so diluted that it's really not helpful. And we've got to make sure that we are investing really intelligently in ourselves. So ask yourself, what is my expectation? What is it that I want to get out of this course? Now, I know what it's like to invest really badly. The three things in my lifetime that I've invested in really badly are real estate, relationships, and stock market style seminars when I'm not a trader type, right? So those are things that I went in there thinking it was just the right thing to do. I had to be in a relationship. So it's kind of like a panic buy. Like, this one's going to be good. I'm going to make it good. I'm going to learn what I need to learn and I'm going to become a trader because that's how to build wealth. Or, this property is going to go up and up and up and up indefinitely, right? All things that now I can see were just completely naive and based on a place of real hope, real optimism, real longing, and then it's just very disappointing when it doesn't happen. So what can we do to protect ourselves and really invest in ourselves? Well, the very first thing that we do is we ask ourselves that question, what is it I'm looking to get at the end of this? So when we're going into a relationship, rather than saying, okay, I want to be married at the end of this, maybe you don't want to be married at the end of this particular relationship. Maybe this relationship, the investment needs to be about you learning how to be in relationship. The same thing for if you're going on a seminar. Maybe you say, well, you know what? I just want to get really good at getting out there and meeting people and learning how to learn. Fantastic, great. I just want to, get better socially. Or I specifically want to learn these strategies so that I can do X, Y, and Z. So just get really, really clear so that you can find out, are you really investing? What is the likelihood then that this investment is going to pay off? So let's imagine that you get into a relationship with someone and you can see, like, from the early days that, oh, this investment you were all excited about, because you are investing in a relationship. You're investing of you, not just your time and your energy, but just of your heart and your you-ness, right? So you don't want that to be just completely frittered away to nothing, like some kind of, Weimar Republic currency thing. You want to make sure that you are going to come out of this stronger and more able to live in the world in the way that you want to live in the world. So that's number one, is really ask yourself, what is the likelihood? And then another thing is, with investing in yourself, check with the experts. So now I will not get into any kind of financial investment deal without checking with friends of mine who are experts in that. Hey, I'm thinking of doing this. What do you reckon? And they'll say something like, yeah, that seems good to me because, or they'll say, oh my goodness, no, Judy May, you don't want to do that either because of the way, like, I am. I have a friend who teaches seminars on investing in the stock market. And he just said to me, he said, just don't. He said, you showing up every single day and doing the same boring thing, it just doesn't work for your personality. So I would say, don't do that. Like, just, put your money into mutual funds and just let other people do that for you. Okay, great. I'm going to listen to the qualified person, the person who already gets those results. Same with relationship. You meet someone, bring them around to see your friend who's been happily married for 20 years. Okay, so we're making sure that when we invest in ourselves, it's not just that we are panic buying and doing something to cure the boredom or the idea that life is not working. All right, number two, the second phrase that is being thrown around a lot is the phrase about standing up for yourself. Now, a lot of people interpret that to mean that you've got to confront. So let's imagine that you are in a relationship. Let's imagine it's a business relationship in the office. The other person in the office is narcissistic. If we look at some other videos around here, you'll find one. If you just type in my name and narcissism, you'll find one that will explain narcissism. There's loads of great videos, by the way, loads of really, really good ones. If you want to check out the good ones, I'd say go to Dana Morningstar, go to Lisa A. Romano, go to Richie Grannon. Those are like the absolute go-to people all the time for narcissism. Brilliant, brilliant people. So let's just imagine that you are in an office with a narcissistic person and you decide that you want to stand up for yourself, that you feel like you've just been taken for granted and messed around. Maybe they've taken some of your ideas and presented them as your own. Perhaps they have been advanced in some way, whereas you haven't, and you know you've done all the good work. Whatever reason you're feeling resentful and you want to stand up for yourself. A lot of people think that standing up for yourself means confronting. And that's the worst thing that you can do if you have a narcissist, is to kind of like unmask them, particularly if you're unmasking them in front of others, or even you're unmasking them just you and them in the office. Like, just, you don't want to do it because it's not going to work. It's not going to get you what you want. So really, I guess this video is all about you making sure that you're getting what you want, not just following advice that was maybe meant for others. I mean, if you were like a raging narcissist yourself, which you're not, and you were like, 7 foot tall and built like that, and you could just go in there and handle yourself, well, then maybe there'd be a little bit more leeway. Maybe you could, go in and say, hey, you've been doing this and it has to stop right now. But in this case, standing up for yourself might be something a little bit more subtle, a little bit more nuanced. It might be something like that you keep really, really careful records of the research that you did, or the contribution that you made, or the conversations that were had, or the agreements, that you make sure everyone sends you something in writing, rather than it just kind of being an agreement floating out there in space. That's how you stand up for yourself. You want to stand up for yourself before it becomes a problem. I had a client who was getting so frustrated. He is in the film industry, and he would have these really great ideas, and he would go and he would bring them to the backers, bring them to the producers, the money people, and he would say, hey, you know what, let's do this and this and this together. And then these guys would often just, my friend would go off and do all this work, and he's kind of both a friend and a client. He would go off and he would do all this work, and he would then be so disappointed. He'd be so disappointed because the others then would turn around and either, take the idea away from him, or back something else, or, just give less. And the time for him to stick up for himself is at the time of agreement, at the time of, okay, we've had this conversation, you're interested now, let's get that on paper. And he just kept not doing that. He says, that's not how it works in this industry. Well, it is. Because I've got other friends and clients who work in the film business, and they're like, well, that's exactly how it works when you stand up for yourself. So standing up for yourself is more about being boundaried than about confronting after the fact. Even if you think about it in terms of your family of origin. So supposing you're going back for the holidays, and you know that there's a particular family member who just really has it in for you, and you've decided, right, this time I'm not taking it, I'm not letting them make me feel bad. Well, a great way to stand up for yourself is to simply just head them off at the pass. So rather than waiting for them to say the thing that's going to be the dig that's going to hurt you, instead you just turn around and you kind of go on the offensive, and you say to them, so tell me about this, this book that you said you were going to write last year that they haven't written. It must be done by now. It must be out there. Just let them know that you're not open for that. You're not available, or have some phrases ready. Some phrases like, oh my goodness, I just never know how to talk to you. Would you like some more potatoes, or whatever it is? But being ready beforehand is just much better. It's much better to be proactive than to be reactive in that moment. All right, so that is how we stand up for ourselves. The next phrase that is super out there all the time is, and it's one that really, really appeals to more sensitive people, is the idea of radical self-care. Radical self-care. And very often, particularly if it's a woman maybe who has young kids, and she thinks of radical self-care as something like taking time to herself and having a bubble bath and playing some music, and having a nice cup of green tea, and maybe snuggling up and watching a movie, and no one kind of disturbing her. And that's right if that's what's missing in her life. But then if you think of radical self-care as always that kind of practical, in the moment nurturing, if you think like radical self-care equals chocolates, then you're kind of missing the point and you're not able to really help yourself. You're not able to really be there for yourself. So sometimes it looks like that, and sometimes it looks like a more sort of disciplined way. Perhaps what's missing for you is the discipline of getting up at the same time, having a schedule and sticking to that schedule and going and making it happen. Maybe like having a study schedule as you're, getting your breakfast and you're playing different languages or different business things that you're learning, and then doing like just 10 minutes of yoga to just get your body all nice and woken up. And then after that, say, right, it is now 8 o'clock or it's now 9 o'clock. I'm going to start making those phone calls. That is radical self-care if the way that you haven't been caring for yourself is about having a good, gentle, disciplined kind of structure, or hasn't been, say, getting the money in. So for example, if someone says, oh yeah, you know what, I just really wanted to look after myself. Like I heard what you said at that event, I heard what you said from the stage about radical self-care. And so, I'm going off and staying in this 5-star hotel for 2 weeks and I'm just going to look after myself. It's kind of like, well, you don't have a lot of money right now. So that would not be looking after yourself. Looking after yourself would be, saying, well, how do I grow this money? How do I make sure that I am completely rested and completely inspired in a way that doesn't bankrupt me, right? So radical self-care isn't just about escape. And for those of us who are the freeze type in CPTSD, we are just so attracted to escape. Anything that says, you can go off now and you can live kind of in a little fantasy bubble. We're like, yeah, I'll take that. And if we can justify it by calling it radical self-care, we will do that. We will take that out. So we got to be really, really careful not to, because we don't want to just take care of this week. We want to take care of you across a lifetime. Not just financially, not just about being like really safe and, not spending any money and not that. We're not going to that extreme either, but we are making sure that we are sort of being respectful of the fact that we have needs and that it's our job to meet them. So radical self-care is taking care of you. If you had a kid to take care of, you wouldn't take care of the kid by just constantly, letting them read comics and eat sweets. You just wouldn't do that. You'd be like, okay, sometimes it's time for that. Sometimes radical self-care with a kid is about, they might be kicking and screaming and you say, no, we are doing this now. So you got to do that for yourself. You got to be good at like radically caring for yourself in that way as well. Okay, so those are the 3 phrases for today. So make sure that you're doing all 3. That you are investing in yourself, that you are standing up for yourself, and that you are doing radical self-care, and that you're doing it in a way that really is going to look after the self. Okay, guys, remember to like and subscribe, because it really helps for other people to get to see this stuff. And any comments, any questions, just put them below. I'm super available. I answer everything. I read everything. And can't wait to get to know you. All right, see you soon. Take care.